Hey everybody, let me begin by saying welcome. I am glad that you're taking the New Testament class over the summer. And before we really dive into the overall kind of content and really get started by looking at the New Testament and the ancient world, I want to make sure we're all on the same page regarding expectations and how you can be successful, and then also grading to make sure that there are no questions there. So when you log on to the Wire, you'll see on the bulletin board on the opening page the syllabus, and so please check that out. I'm actually going to make this into a little assignment that I want you to watch this video and then fill out a few questions for me. So please be sure that you are checking this out, that you look and read it really closely, actually. I've already emailed you guys talking about the book that I want you guys to get. Do this as soon as possible. It's a very short introduction to the New Testament. This is an Oxford University Press series, and they have tons of books. They're actually pretty legit. But I like this one. It's actually pretty short. So is this the only reading we're going to be doing? Well, no, but we are going to be using this as a diving board into other things. Secondly, you'll want a Bible of some sort, and even online Bibles I think will work, although it may not be as preferable. If I were you, I actually like having a book in front of me. Please look over the objective of the course. So my main objective is to help you guys develop what I'm going to call academic virtues, what a lot of educators call skills, that I think are essential for success in the academy and in the workplace. So I'm going to do this by looking at the ancient world, by looking at the New Testament, by trying to understand Jesus, by looking at the four main literary genres that are present in the New Testament, and see if some of those themes and some of those realities are transferable to other topics and other classes that we take as well. Is my main objective to make you memorize a whole bunch of silly things about the ancient world just so you can pass a test and pass a class? No. I really want to develop these virtues. And if you know anything about Aristotelian ethics, a virtue is something that is practiced. You have to do it over and over and over and over again. Look, if you will, please, at the policies of the course. Really kind of basic things, everything that you would expect for a class. Honor code will be strictly followed. I understand that we all have busy summers. I do too. But I think that the best way to be successful in a summer course is just to schedule a set amount of time every day or every other day that you can engage the course. Please, and I'm going to say this about 4 more times, do not wait until the last minute to do things. Don't get behind. I know you're probably going to be taking some vacations, and the same applies there. Work ahead. Make sure that you can allocate and organize your time pretty well. It's hard in a classroom setting to not be distracted by our computers. It's even more difficult, I think, when we're using a computer as the main source, the main vehicle of a class, especially an online class. So please read this note on technology. It's how we're going to communicate, how we're going to do the vast majority of teaching and learning over the course of the semester. And yet, it is so tempting to have 45 different tabs open at the top of your screen. It's so tempting to have your phone sitting right next to you. If you are going to be successful, these 30 minutes or this hour that you allocate every day or every other day needs to be focused. Okay, do not succumb to the temptation to just have your phone there to send random Snapchats of you doing your online course. Put that away for a while so you can actually focus. So some of my expectations. A lot of studies are showing that if a student believes that she or he is always a C student, they generally don't challenge themselves. They generally don't learn with what we call a growth mindset. So my opening line here, and I have it bolded for a specific reason, is learn with a growth mindset. Students who believe that intelligence is not fixed, but can actually change, but can actually grow, routinely achieve higher and stronger, higher grades, stronger goals than their fixed-minded peers. If you were like me in high school and you think, well, I'm always just going to be a B student, you probably will just be a B student. You're not going to challenge yourself. But I've really bought into this idea of how even just like changing our perspective, changing our mind really does affect so many other things. Guys, log on to the Wire as much as you can. Daily, check your email daily or every other day. This is going to be our main mode of communication. But of course, in an online course like this, almost everything is going to be submitted and done online. Read, read, read. I hear it a lot that people don't read books, that people don't read articles. I know if you're like me that your attention span is really short now. And I think that's a problem. I would rather read something in a minute and a half rather than 10 minutes. So again, focus your time, focus your mind, start to develop these good habits. Use professional language in the discussion boards that we'll have online, when you guys communicate with each other, when you communicate in your papers, when you communicate with me. I know, again, it's tempting in an online course to just think that we can correspond with online language. But no, this is an academic course. And just like the online courses you're going to be taking in college, you need to be using academic and professional language as well. So here is kind of my educational philosophy. I mentioned this earlier, that my main goal is to help you develop 4 what I call academic virtues, what a lot of people call skills, and they are what you see on the screen: critical thinking, identification, communication, and then process. Read over these. This is actually the what I want you guys to do in this short assignment. I want you to tell me what I mean by these 4 categories. Critical thinking. Whenever we deal with a topic, we need to be able to grapple with the tension that's available in the information and look at evidence critically, to analyze that evidence, to be able to draw on internal and external influences and issues and problems that arise in that. So you guys are going to be able to hopefully recognize cause and effect, to draw parallels, while reflecting upon the main interconnectedness of the different concepts and ideas. The way I'm really trying to structure this is that although we are talking about the New Testament, although we are talking about literature of the ancient world, we're really talking about literature, we're really talking about culture, we're really talking about religion, and these ideas are transferable. Identification. I really expect you guys to understand what we're talking about, to be able to identify terms, concepts, realities that are going to be the diving board, that are going to be the basis for our work. You can't do critical thinking. You can't do this deeper level thinking until you have actually done the hard work of identifying the basic stuff. For example, my daughter right now, she likes to paint. Well, she can't paint pictures without paint. She can draw, and she can have a brush and paper, but unless she does like that basic work of getting the paint out and actually knowing the different colors and knowing how those different colors interact with each other, she can't actually paint a picture. So identification is just getting the paint out, taking the time to understand the major concepts, the main issues, the problems, in a very coherent and succinct way. Communication. In an online course, you guys are going to be doing a lot of writing, but I'm also trying to structure it that you're going to be doing a lot of talking as well. In my experience, a lot of people hate giving oral presentations and standing up and giving presentations. And yet, our business world, our economy, so much of our lives is really dependent upon how we can communicate, not only just in the written form, but also in the verbal form as well. So you guys are going to be doing quite a bit of written work for me. You're going to be doing quite a bit of oral presentations for me, and you're also going to be doing some communication on discussion boards with your peers. And then finally, the process grading. You guys are really expected to remain engaged in this. One of the biggest challenges, and please hear me on this, for online courses, is that we in the summertime are super easily distracted. Okay. Similarly, some of us are distracted in class as well. So close to what I was saying above with this growth mindset, the process really is how engaged you are in the overall subject. And what I mean by that is how engaged you are in understanding, how engaged you are in doing these 4 things: critical thinking, identification, the communication. Because if you are just trying to get a grade, if you are doing assignments just to do an assignment and not engaging in it, not really learning from them, your process grade is really going to be quite low. The goal of the academy, and please get this before your peers, the goal of everything that we do at this school is to get you to grow, to understand, to challenge yourself, to think critically, to work on communication. And when people like you as a student, like parents, like teachers, narrow everything down to just a grade, we're cheating everybody from the depth. And so really, how engaged are you? I think that I actually can assess this. I'll talk about that here in just a second. So how are you going to get grades in this class? If you've taken some classes here at All Saints, this should look pretty familiar. That I grade on kind of the 4-point scale, that if you meet the expectations, you'll see rubrics from me later on, that you should be right at that 90%. If you are approaching the expectations, if you're struggling to meet some of those expectations, if you simply do not meet those expectations, you'll see that those grades are reflected there. But if you really go above and beyond, and if you really take the time to look at the complexities, to look at the deeper realities, then you're going to start to exceed the expectations. I try to set the expectations fairly high, and you'll see that on rubrics that I give out over the course of this semester. So how am I going to grade you guys? Well, the overall grade is going to look like this. 35% of your grade is going to be critical thinking, in like a critical thinking category. Today, more than ever, you guys have an access to tons of information. But how well are we able to evaluate that information? How well can we synthesize two ideas or two competing realities? So I'm going to try to challenge you guys to recognize the complex and often hidden relationships between history, religion, literature, politics, human nature, so on and so forth. And that, in my opinion, is what makes the study of religion so interesting. Identification is going to be 20% of your grade. Now, in the course of a regular semester, this is generally 10% of your grade. But for an online course, I think it actually is worthwhile to make this 20%. How well are you able to understand the ancient world, the way in which the Bible functioned, the New Testament functioned for the people who wrote this text, for the early listeners of these texts, for the early readers of these texts? Now, let me say something here. One of the challenges about teaching a religion class is I will assume that the vast majority of you guys come into this class already having essentially your minds made up. People go into a science class, people go into a history class and say, man, I really love science, or man, I do not like history. But people go into religion classes already thinking that they know everything. So I'm going to truly challenge you to challenge those preconceptions, to really understand what we are reading, what we are learning, and to allow those preconceptions to be challenged. So religion is a very difficult subject because it really presupposes a whole host of knowledge: history, philosophy, religion, politics, economics, sociology, as you'll see in some of these early assignments. Therefore, when I assign you guys a reading, understand it. Don't just read it to read it. If the information is just going to your retina and not actually through your optic nerve to your brain, you need to reread it. Okay, again, this is why I talk about focusing your mind, focus your work so that you can really engage this stuff on a deeper way. Again, like I said earlier, I want to talk about this 3 or 4 times. Understanding is the goal. To achieve this goal, I need you guys to work in controlled environments. Okay, I have a difficult time working with the TV on, working with my family around. I have a difficult time, of course, working at the pool. I really want to sit down in a controlled environment to work. Communication. And this is so important, I think, today, that we need to be able to be good communicators. This is going to be, as I said earlier, in both the written and the verbal communication, in the verbal way. And so take time. Take time to focus on the words that you're saying, on the syntax that you're using, and like I am really desperately trying to do right now, mitigate the transitional phrases like and so. That's hard for me, and I know that that's hard for you. But if we are going to be good communicators, if we are going to demonstrate depth and complexity and our proficiency as critical thinkers, we have to do that in a robust and meaningful way by how we communicate. And so focus on that. When you guys are recording videos, is there a chance that you're going to record the first minute 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times because you said 27 times? Maybe, but you're going to be better for it. And then finally, the process, the 10%. Again, I think that I can actually assess overall engagement. How well are you challenging yourself? How, whenever you're doing our discussion boards, are you just writing like the very minimum? Are you engaging your peers in a little bit of a more deep and more complex way? When you are doing your assignments, are they just the bare bones to get it done before the due date, or are you actually engaging? I think that actually is demonstrated in our communication, in our identification, and in our critical thinking. So here in a second, I'm going to ask you guys to answer a few questions about this video and about the syllabus. So welcome to the class again. This is the first of probably many awkward videos that I'm going to record. But I really am looking forward to the work that we're going to be doing, the growth that we're all going to experience, you and me together, this summer. So thanks again, and I will look forward to hearing your responses.